welcome. This is part 2 of my video about the fs-ia6b and using the Arduino to program your flysky controller. Alright, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to use the ibus and how to convert this guy into an ibus2ppm converter. I'm going to show you on the APM 2.6 and the APM out of the CX20, the original 252, I believe. Alright, so I'm going to jump into it. Alright, so prepping up the Arduino board. If you're coming off my part 1 of the video, we use this as an FTDI. This is why there's a jumper on it. If you remove this jumper, this board becomes normal again. So take off this jumper. You're going to need this for something else, and also I showed you how to add a resistor from here to here. Remove that resistor as well. If this is a brand new Arduino board for you, the pads you're going to need are RX, ground, D2, VIN, and ground. So you don't need to add all those other pins. Right, so after you solder on these pins, the next step should be to program the board. So I'll show you how to do that. So download my package. I included everything you should need. You have an option to either use Mission Planner or Xloader. If you do use Mission Planner to program this, just make sure you set the baud rate to 57600. If you don't, you can probably brick this right away. That's why I always suggest just always ordering 2 of these and just make one of these into an ISP. This way you can use one to recover this guy. Alright, so plug in your Arduino. Go into my package. If you don't have the drivers installed yet, I include them in the package. So just go in here, this guy here, and click on setup.exe, and then just click the install button. It's good for any OS. So I included Xloader. You can use Mission Planner to program the Arduino, except you have to make sure you put it on baud rate 57600, or you can loop it, or you can brick it. So open up Xloader, click this guy here to find the hex file. So if it doesn't show up like that, it's obviously in the firmware. I include 2 files. One swaps 5 and 6 from channel 8 and 9, and the other one has no 5 and 6. Now, if you're gonna, this is kind of confusing, but the problem I ran into with the APM 2.6 is you can't set all the flight modes properly with the swapping the 5 and 6. So what it does is changes channel 8 and 9 on the remote to 5 and 6, so you can right off this guy itself, you can plug in your gimbal on 5 and 6 and just use the gimbal, the 2 variable switches on the remote to control your gimbal. But again, the problem is it can't do the flight modes. You only get 4 of them for some reason. At least in my setup it does. So I include both of them so you can try them out. I'll quickly show you both of them working and how to set it up. So the first one I'm going to do is with the 5 and 6 using the gimbal on this. So click on that guy. Make sure it says this and the baud rate is 57600, and choose the COM port that your Arduino's on, and then click upload. Right, so it's done. Okay, I'm going to show you how to prep this board with the receiver and the APMs out of the quadcopter, and then I'll show you it in the quadcopter. Hopefully this will just be a little bit more cleaner this way. So you should have your wires that used to come off your receiver. You're going to need to use these and mod them a little bit. And this is how we're going to mod it. So take one cable and remove the white out of it. On one side. On another cable, we'll go with this shorter one. Remove the red wire out of one of the sides. Alright. So the cable with the red one removed. Receiver this way. Here's your I bus up here. So the white on the left side, plug it in that way. So you're left with a white and black here. What you'll want to do is plug the white one into the RX and the black into the ground. This red wire that's left, you want to plug this one into VCC or VIN. Ideally too, you can find one of these guys or even a single one to cover up that lead properly. But for now I'm just going to show you this way. Also, you can find yourself a 4. One of these guys that has 4 pins instead. It'd just be a lot cleaner. But anyways. Right, so the next one you're left with is a white one removed, and this guy here goes basically anywhere here except 5 and 6. So we'll put it right here for number 2. So it goes like that, red in the middle, black on the bottom. Alright, so you're left with this cable here with the white one by itself. This guy plugs into the APM on the input side on number 1. If I can get it in there. Like that. And this last white guy by itself plugs into D2. Like that. So from the last build you have a jumper left over, and if you don't, you need to find yourself a jumper. This jumper here has to cover pin 2 and 3 on the input side, and that'll put the APM into PPM mode. Alright, so it covers these 2 here. And that's basically it. You're done prepping this. Now on the original APM, with the USB on the right side and this facing forward, turn it this way. This cable here gets plugged on this side here. Like that. And then this is kind of hard to do. Not the best jumpers I have here. And there you go. You have to, well, I have the jumper on backwards, but it's the same thing anyways. You have to cover those 2 pins like that. And this will put this receiver or this APM into PPM mode. So I'll get back on that APM later. For now I'll deal with this guy here. Alright, so I think actually I'm ready to plug this into the real APM now. I just wanted to show you it out for the wiring so it wouldn't be that confusing. So I'll jump into the mess of the CX20 now. Alright, here's the settings for the 5.6 swap firmware. Turn on your remote, go to OK, go to Setup. You still have to reverse your channel 2, but I'm not going to get into that kind of stuff. So go down to aux channels, and you want to change channel 5 to VRA, that'll be the variable one up here, and then channel 6 the variable B, and then channel 8 to SWB plus C. So it'll combine these two together. You can change it to channel 9 for SWC and channel 8 SWB, but the problem with this firmware is you can't mix those two channels. It only goes up to channel 6, and that's why I suggest probably using the other firmware I included in the package. You get less channels kind of, but it'll be up to you guys to play around with. So I'll show you with the quad now how to set up the gimbals. Alright, welcome to the mess, and this is why I wanted to do it out of the quadcopter first. So you're going to have to find some way to wrap this up, obviously, so it protects it. I have the same wires here, so it's just this one and the jumper. Now on the on the receiver, I'm going to simulate a gimbal underneath it. So I attached one wire to 5 and one to 6 for these little motors here. Ideally, you'll want to attach these two gimbal wires for the CX20 at least. Just remove the red wire, most likely. So I made another video showing you how to make a USB cable by removing the red power wire. So with this receiver here, it draws too much current just for the USB. So I suggest removing the red wire out of the USB cable so you can plug in the battery and a USB cable. If you don't understand that, just check out that video. So plug in the USB cable into your computer, the one with the no red wire, and plug in the battery. Alright, I'm going to turn on the remote. And this is just going to show you simulating the gimbal. So now these two variables here out of 5 and 6 control the motors. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the other firmware. Okay, so I loaded up the other firmware, the one called ibus2ppm no 5 and 6. The reason for that is so we can get all the switches here. But there's extra steps involved in Mission Planner to get the two gimbals working properly. And I'll show you the settings on the remote, at least my settings. You don't have to use anything I'm saying either. Basically this video is just showing you guys how to hook up the this guy here. But I'll show you my settings anyways. So push OK. Go to setup. Go to aux channels. This time for channel 5. Change it to SWB plus C. Change 6 to none. This time for 7, change it for VR or SW, oops, change it VRA, and for 8 for VRB. Alright, this time hold the cancel button to save it. Go into Endpoints. This is up to you. You can do it other ways as well, but I found this is the best way for me at least. And you'll want to go down to channel 5, change it to 70% and 80%. To get to this side is sometimes tricky. You have to hold these two down sometimes to get to that side to change it. But anyways, that's the settings here. So in Mission Planner, I'll show you that. Alright, connect your CX20 to Mission Planner the same way. Plug in the USB cable and plug in the battery. Again, make sure you remove the red power wire out of the USB cable. You can try leaving it, but that's totally up to you guys. So connect to Mission Planner. And now with the remote, turn it on. Now you should see radio 7 and radio 8 move when you're in radio calibration. Like that. And the dip switches should move for only radio 5. Like that. So to set up the gimbals now, we're going to have to use the outputs for 7 and 8 on the APM. If you have an octo, I guess this step-by-step is useless to you. It has to be, you have to have some extra ports on the APM left over. So go into optional hardware, go to camera gimbal, set the tilt to RC7, and then the input here, change it to RC7. For roll, change it to RC8, and change this one to RC8. So what that'll do now on the APM, see if I can get in there. Try flipping this guy around this way now. So it's not going to be totally perfect here, but what you'll want to do is plug in your gimbal wires for your CX20 now, white at the top, into 8 and 7. There's one extra step on this APM. I'm just oddly going to jump into the video here and just show you in a little bit better detail what I'm talking about with the two ports. So on the APM 2.6, for using the No 56 hex, you want to use 7 and 8. If you're using the CX20 two gimbal wires, it's the white at the top, but for this purposes, I'm just using these kind of servos. So the orange wire on this would be your switch. So it plugs into number 8 like that, and this guy would plug into number 7, and now you'll be able to control it. On this APM, with the USB, with the factory APM, with USB on this side, these are your outputs on the back, and they're upside down. So with the original cable coming from the CX20 gimbal wires, the two white ones, the white would be on the bottom. So it'd be yellow, orange is your switch. So this one would go on this corner for number 8, and your other gimbal wire would go on number 7. Like that. Right, back into the video I go. So like that. And because I'm not using the original APM, I don't have 5 volts on this because I removed JP1, so I'm just going to be plugging in this B cable into one of the ports. Don't do this. But I'm just going to power up the rail for this test purpose here. If you have normal gimbals on the bottom, then you don't have to do this. See if I can get that in there. Alright, so now with this remote, you should be able to control both of them. If I can get that one. So there's that for this side here. So that's how you would have to connect it for that, because now you can no longer use the output 5 and 6. Get back in Mission Planner for flight modes. I'm not going to really show you guys how to do it because you can set it up the way you want to, but now when you flick, so now when you flick through these, it'll change here to the settings you want, and you have 6 of them now to change. So on the CX20, usually this one does nothing. So what you'll probably want to do is change this one just to stabilize, and then change that one to stabilize, or just leave it as stabilized. And then this one would be whatever you want it to be, usually loiter. And then this one down here would be return to home. If I can find it, return to land. 1 I guess I'm showing you anyways, is stabilize in simple mode. And 1 2 is alt hold, I believe. I might have that wrong, but anyways, just showing you that they all actually all do work with my setup at least, and save your modes. Alright guys, I hope that's it for the video. I think I covered everything I had to. It was a fun little project. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And yeah, that's it. Bye bye.